Watching the personal and often deeply moving testimonials of people in the walk-away movement makes me depressed, but at the same time very happy. Strange, isn't it? Let me explain. The depressing part has to do with the fact that I had been through this before. You see, I was born and spent my formative years in a communist country, Poland. Believe me, I know quite a bit about lying media, propaganda, attacks on those who dare to question the dogma, the profound disdain of the power elites towards ordinary people. All that we're witnessing in America today. In the summer of 1980, after a long strike in the largest shipyard in Poland, the communist government agreed to the demands of the workers, which included freedom of the press. It was a shock to the system, probably greater than the election of Donald Trump was to the political establishment in the US. Back then, in the months that followed, some cosmetic changes were made, but at the same time the establishment got to work discrediting and destroying the opposition that had emerged through provocation, violence, and a barrage of lies. The dissidents were called enemies of the working class, traitors of Poland, and of course paid stooges of the US, meddling in Polish affairs. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Except now the dissidents are Russian bots. As you may know, in December of 1981, the communists decided they had enough playing games and imposed martial law, arresting thousands of dissidents and reversing all the reforms implemented after that successful strike. Dark years followed, with propaganda in overdrive and opposition moving to the underground. There is a part of me that dreads something like this happening here. Maybe not exactly the same, but history usually happens first as tragedy and then as farce. The establishment, the media, the power elites, the deep state are hard at work trying to undo what happened in the election of 2016. They may yet succeed. What fills me with optimism and happiness is that we seem to be living in compressed time, where everything happens more quickly. So it may be that we are stepping over that dreadful phase and already moving to the next one. People walking away. Because what finally broke the spine of the communist monster was tens of thousands of young, educated, entrepreneurial Poles literally walking away, escaping to Western countries. Later, tens of thousands of East Germans, whole families, boarded overcrowded trains to Czechoslovakia, where nobody stopped them when they crossed the border to West Germany on foot. Finally, ordinary people, ridiculed, oppressed, threatened, manipulated, took sledgehammers and smashed the Berlin Wall. That was one of the happiest days of my life. And frankly, I never expected I would get to relive this in the United States. I really thought that the deadly viruses of Marxism and communism were eradicated, like smallpox, but it seems that they have just mutated into new strains. Cultural Marxism, globalism, multiculturalism, the left's dream of unifying the world into a totalitarian system under the red banner had been revived. The words being used have changed somewhat. We have a new vocabulary and new slurs for dissidents, of course, but the approach remained largely the same. Lies, distortions, propaganda, political violence, intimidation. The left at the moment does not have the state apparatus of violence at their disposal, thank God. They can't send people to gulags, confiscate their cars, or evict them from their homes because they found copies of Orwell's 1984 in them. You know, those things actually did happen in communist countries. But they have other, softer means. You may lose your job, and thus your livelihood, for saying the wrong thing. You will be required to attend sensitivity training or diversity classes to free yourself from thinking outside their dogma. You will be ridiculed, ostracized, denied service in restaurants. Your children will be kicked out of daycare. A clerk in the store will refuse to sell you things. You may also be physically assaulted. By the way, all those things I just mentioned are actually being done to people today in the United States of America. And that's why this movement is so powerful. It removes a big part of the narrative that the left would have us believe. That this is just a bunch of crazies, bigots, white supremacists, you know, the basket of deplorables, or the people from middle America who, clinging to their guns and their Bibles, who are standing in the way of the left's total victory. To see the incredible diversity of people here, men, women, black, white, brown, young, old, American-born, immigrants, bravely announcing the supremacy of reason over ideology. You would have to be totally brainwashed to cling to your delusion that these are Russian boats. That's actually an important point. Why are otherwise intelligent people not able to see through the lies that they're being fed? Why don't they recognize obvious contradictions? Why can't they smell hypocrisy that stinks to high heaven? Now, people who carried posters with "Love Trump's Hate" in the 2016 campaign have since engaged in a hate fest this country had not seen since the Civil War. Antifa, the self-proclaimed anti-fascists, are using the same tactics and have the same goals as Sturmabteilung, SA, the brown-shirted violent goons of the Nazi Party, to intimidate, silence, and destroy the opposition. Why doesn't it strike them as odd? I blame it on ideology. Ideology, you see, is false consciousness. You do not see reality for what it is. You see only what comes to you through the filter of your ideology. It is like having implants in your eyes or your brain that allow you to see everything only in black and white. Everyone who tries to tell you about all the colors out there, you perceive as a liar, or worse yet, a threat to your identity. You want to silence them by whatever means. Let me finish on an optimistic note. We have a difficult journey ahead of us, and powerful forces aligning to stop our march. But if history is any guide, we shall overcome. As Polish people say, lies have short legs. They can go only so far. Eventually, the truth catches up to them or walks away from them. I believe that we will emerge healthier and stronger as a society, and that the cancer of totalitarianism, by whatever name, will again be in remission. I bow before you, my fellow walkers. Your courage, your willingness to remove the implants of ideology from your brains, painful though it is, gives me tremendous hope. Let's keep hammering at the wall of lies. It will tumble down. I know it will. I had seen it before. Thank you.